In the courtroom, a former Smith County law enforcement officer strikes a deal with prosecutors to avoid time in jail. Former Chief Deputy Constable for Precinct 1, LaQuenda Banks, pleaded guilty today in exchange for a 1.5-year probation. She is the last of 3 officers to have their day in court for allegedly stealing from a home while carrying out an eviction. In a Smith County courtroom, LaQuenda Banks pleaded guilty to a charge of official oppression, avoiding the possibility of the maximum punishment of a year in jail by making a deal with the state that resulted in a sentence of 18 months probation. Banks and 2 fellow officers, one of them being her former boss, were all accused of stealing from a home while carrying out an eviction at the Cascades in 2021.
What you doing?
Put it in my pocket. I can leave it to this.
Sit in the driver's seat. Sit in the driver's seat and take it.
While testifying in the case against her former boss, Curtis Traylor Harris, Banks said this on the stand.
He was my boss, so, I'm going to do what he says do.
A jury ultimately convicted Traylor Harris of theft and sentenced the former constable to 5 years probation, while the other man accused, former Sergeant Derek Holman, was acquitted by a jury just last month. And while Banks was a witness in the 2 trials, her attorney says negotiations with prosecutors did not happen until after she testified in both cases.
She testified because it was the right thing to do, because she wanted to make amends as much as possible for what she had done, without any plea deals. She is absolutely sorry for what she's done, and she's taken full responsibility, and I think moving forward she's going to be a law-abiding person again, like she has been all of her life, but for this incident.
As part of the plea deal, the state agreed to drop 2 other charges faced by Banks, one for theft and the other for abuse of official capacity.